Dr. Yoni Whitten here. You know, not a single week goes by that I don't get requests from members of this community looking for ideas or suggestions for how to structure their morning routine to improve their joint health and eliminate chronic pain. So rather than going through these questions one by one, I thought I'd just show you what my morning routine looks like. Let's get into this. My morning routine can be broken down into 6 major components: nutrients, mobility, movement stimulus, exposure to nature, structural hygiene, and walking. Whether it's surfing, strength training, rock climbing, working on patients in my clinic, or just running around and playing with my family, I push my body really hard. And it's important to me that I feel good and function well every single day. And so every morning starts off for me with movement essentials. The 20 nutrients that are in these supplements have been shown to lubricate joints, eliminate stiffness and swelling, speed up recovery times, and protect your cartilage and joint tissue from the damaging enzymes that cause joint destruction and osteoarthritis. When it comes to mobility, my goal is simple. I just want to move every single one of my joints through every range of motion it's got every single day. And what I like to do for this is start with the extremities and work my way inward. The only thing that you'll need for this simple mobility routine is a comfortable surface to lie on. Once you've got that, just go flat on your back. Now your legs are going to be extended straight out in front of you. You should have about 1.5 or 2 feet of distance between your feet. Head should be resting comfortably, your neck muscles should be completely relaxed, and the back of your head should be in contact with the floor. If you find that you have tension in your neck, your chin is elevated, or if your head is actually off of the floor, it means that the movement in your spine is restricted and or you have a forward head position. And what you need to do is put a 1 or 2 inch bolster underneath your head to relax those neck muscles and get that chin down. That way you'll get the maximum benefit from this routine. Once the neck is relaxed, you can have your hands just resting on your abdomen or positioned comfortably along the side of your body, whatever's more comfortable for you. From this position, I start off with windshield wipers, where I take both feet towards the midline and then away from the midline in rhythmic back and forth fashion, just like this. And what you're going to get is a very slight mobilization inside of the ankle joint. You're going to get some rotation here at the hips and a little pumping motion down where your pelvis meets your spine. So I call these windshield wipers. And this one is nice. You can kind of let momentum have its way as you rock back and forth here. Love starting off the day with this one. After you finish 20 or 30 repetitions there, you're gonna bring your left foot towards the midline, cross the right over the top of it, hands come out to the sides for this one, and then you're gonna go back and forth. These are called foot flips. Great for mobilizing that sacroiliac joint, the outer portion of that pelvic ring, and you get a little bit of rotation in the lumbar spine as well on this. Back and forth, very controlled. After 20 repetitions, you'll cross left over right and do the same thing on the opposite side, mobilizing the other side of the pelvic ring. After 20 or 30 repetitions there, you're going to bend both knees. Feet should be positioned next to each other, knees should be touching, and you're going to rock the knees to one side and then to the opposite side, back and forth. These are called knee flips. We're moving up the chain and we're getting a little bit more motion here into the mid and upper sections of the lumbar spine. But again, you'll see that my shoulders stay in contact with the floor. You don't want to fling your legs on this one, just controlled back and forth motion. Moving all those joints. After 20 repetitions there, you're going to separate the feet. Knees are pointing straight up. You're up on your heels, about 2.5 feet between your feet. And then you're going to think about touching the outside of one knee and the inside of the opposite knee down to the floor, just like that. And then the other side. Call these hip flips. Internal and external rotation at the hip joint, just moving that ball inside of the socket all the way through as much range of motion as you comfortably can. Don't force anything, just allow it to go where it's willing to go. 20 to 30 repetitions there. You'll stop with your knees pointing straight up at the ceiling, still up on the heels, and then from there you'll squeeze your butt muscles and push your rear end off the floor just like that. Return back and go back and forth. 15 to 20 repetitions, activating one of the most important stabilizers in your body, gluteus maximus, and the other parts of your posterior chain. Getting ready to transition off the floor to a standing position. From the standing position, I start off with my wrists and hands by pushing my hands as far away from me as I can get, activating the muscles that spread the fingers apart, making my hands as wide as I possibly can while pushing away. I'm also bending my wrists backwards as much as I can. We spend a lot of time in daily life closing the hands and curling the wrists underneath us, typing, texting, holding stuff. So I want to activate by going the opposite direction as much as I possibly can. And I'm pushing my arms straight as I do that. I call this one the 10 count, 10 to 15 repetitions, pushing them away as far as you can. You'll then push your palms together, fingertip to fingertip, just like that, close to your body, and you'll start high, forehead level, and bring the hands down. Release back up, bring the hands down. You're pushing together as you come down, getting a nice elongation of the tissue on the underside of the wrist and forearm. Again, just fighting off those motions that we spend so much time doing every day. About 10 to 15 repetitions there, then go into some easy wrist rolls. 10 or 15 reps, opposite direction, the same. I then go into elbows. So elbows coming from full bend to fully straight, both directions. Fully straight. And getting that pronation, supination motion in the elbow as well. From here, I go into an activation of the posterior shoulder. And what I think about is squeezing my thumbs as if I'm actually trying to touch my hands together behind me. And I'm really squeezing those muscles in my back and trying to compress those muscles and fill them up with blood, almost like inflating a balloon, to turn those muscles on, get my shoulders ready for the day. Once I feel those muscles inflate, I go into reverse arm circles, specifically focusing on the reverse motion. I always tell people with this one, imagine that you're in water and you're trying to propel yourself backwards. So with the arms on the side of the body like this, even people with chronic shoulder problems can usually do this with little to no problem. As the shoulders get warmed up and healthier, then you can start moving those reverse arm circles through a range of motion where you actually come up all the way over your head and then return back to the start. This is one of my favorite motions. I'll usually go through 100 or 150 of these, just going back and forth from the side of my body to all the way overhead. But you need to make sure that you're staying in a pain-free range of motion as you go through those. After you finish those, you're ready to move on to the spine. Now for this section, I like to jump up onto my whole body vibration platform and really amplify the effect. When it comes to movement stimulus, what I'm trying to do is stimulate as many nerve endings as possible. I want to drive up activation of my central nervous system and get my body and my mind ready for the day ahead. And I do that by stepping up onto a whole body vibration platform, turning it on, and performing the rest of my mobilizations in the presence of vibration. The first thing I do is I start off with side bending the lumbar spine. And for this, you're going to have your feet positioned slightly wider than hip width apart. I'm going to be using the lowest setting on my power plate. So turn that on. Hands are positioned right along the sides of the body. And what I'm going to do is side bend my lower back and torso, reaching down with my hand, trying to get my fingertips below the level of the knee. But ultimately, the range of motion is going to be dictated by how far you can comfortably go. And then you're just going to go back and forth from side to side. And what you'll find is when you get up to that 5th or 6th repetition, that vibration is really going to be acting on your tissues and your range of motion is going to be increased. After 10 to 20 repetitions, you come back to center. Elbows are going to come off the sides of the body. You'll be light on the balls of your feet, and you're going to rotate your torso as far as you can to one side. Slowly return to center, and as far as you can to the other side. Gentle back and forth lumbar rotations. I always tell people, imagine like you're ringing the fluid out of a wet towel as you're going through these. You're activating that imbibition process with this deep, slow rotation, actually drawing fluid in to the lumbar discs through this pumping mechanism in the spine. Make sure you're hydrated before you do this, because the majority of that center of your spinal discs is made up of water. After 10 to 20 repetitions there, we'll move up to the neck, and you're gonna go chin to shoulder. So want to make sure that you're opening your facet joints, and you're going to accomplish that with this downward diagonal motion. Imagine a dot on the tip of the chin, another on the top of the shoulder, diagonal motion downward, and you're using your eyes to look over your shoulder as you go, back and forth, one side and the other. Now working the facet joints and the discs up in the neck. After 10 to 20 repetitions, we're going to go side bends in the neck. Imagine a stick going straight through the center portion of your face, like the tip of your nose, and you're rotating around that stick, trying to bring the ear to the shoulder on one side and the ear to the shoulder on the opposite side. Slow back and forth motion. As you go, you'll feel that vibration just elongating these muscles on the side of the neck at the top of the shoulder. These are muscles that get super tight for everyone who works a desk job. So vibration worth its weight in gold for elongating tissue if you find yourself in that situation. And then finally, I squat down into a deep resting squat, resting my elbows inside of my knees, pushing the hips open. And from there, I just rock my hips side to side in that lowest position. But again, this will be dictated by your ability to get into this position. If you find that you're too restricted and you can't get into this position, then what I would recommend is you step onto the platform with one leg and squat down here and go as low as you can comfortably go and hang out in that bottom position. You can kind of work inward and outward, which is a nice option for anybody who's too stiff to get all the way down while standing on the platform. Total vibration exposure time here is about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. If you have bone density concerns, then what you would want to do is turn the platform off every 60 seconds and then take a 60-second rest and then turn the platform back on. Once I finish my whole body vibration, I'm ready for part 4, which is to get outside and go for a walk. Now, I'm very fortunate that there's some wild open space very close to my house. So I find the wildest space that I can that's still close and convenient for me, and I get out into it. Now, of course, there's cardiovascular benefits. There's benefits to being outside in the sunshine, the light exposure, all of those things. But what I'm really looking for is something called forest bathing, which became very popular due to some research that came out of Japan showing that it created massive reductions in stress hormones, an increased sense of calm, and improved productivity. And for people suffering with pain, this type of exposure to nature may be particularly beneficial. Studies as recently as 2021 have shown that exposing yourself to the sights and sounds of nature reduces pain levels and speeds recovery for those dealing with injury. During some of the uphill sections in my walk in nature, I'll pick up the pace a little bit just to up the cardio demand. And then as I'm looping back to my house, I take an alternate route that has a steep uphill section, and I actually turn around and walk backwards up this hill. It takes me about 3 to 5 minutes to get all the way to the top, depending on how fast I go, but this backward walking has been shown to have some really interesting benefits. For one thing, the demand on the cardiopulmonary system is significantly higher with backward walking than it is with forward walking. But it's also been shown to improve your balance, improve your mood, improve memory and short-term recall, and improve cognitive function. Whether it's texting, social media, reading, working at your computer, or just watching your favorite shows, people nowadays are spending a ton of time in what are called flexion-based activities. These are activities where you're seated, your head is down, your arms are out in front of you, and your hands are in a closed or a grasping position. Now, the purpose of structural hygiene is to counteract that position and bring the body back into its normal upright posture, because only a body that retains its proper shape can feel great and function optimally. The single most important factor when it comes to achieving optimal posture is the position of your head and the presence of the normal secondary curve in your neck. That's the reason why I use my active traction unit every single day. This simple device has been scientifically proven to reduce forward head position and restore the normal curve in your neck. And so what I'll do is I'll either wear this at my standing workstation for a few minutes a day, or I'll slide it on and I'll go back and forth in my living room. Just like that. Now the great news is that this stimulus is so powerful that in just a few minutes a day, you can counteract hours of flexion-based activities. Now, if you want to know more about the science of active traction, you've got to check out a video that I did just on this subject, and you can see that here. Please don't let the amount of strategies and techniques from this video overwhelm you. It took me a long time to add all of these things to my morning routine. And what I would do is add one of them and work on it for a period of time until that one thing became a habit where I actually looked forward to doing it every day because it made me feel so good. And then I would consider adding a second. And that's what I would encourage you to do. Pick one of these things that seems the easiest and the most enjoyable to you and just work on that one thing until it becomes a habit. Then you can always circle back and add a second one. To get Movement Essentials or the Active Traction Unit, you can use the links in the description down below or click the card here, which will take you directly to the Pain Fix Protocol store. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that you'll put the information to good use. Make sure to click the thumbs up button, give this video a like, it really helps, and subscribe to the channel so that you're updated every time a new video comes out. That's all for now. See you next time.